My name is Jacob, and this is my journey to find a new pair of fencing shoes. The main reason I'm making this video is personal. I want to document my thoughts on different shoes that I try on as I try them on. And I think recording those thoughts in video form will be the best method of doing that. The second reason is that I want this video to be a resource for others. I've been fencing foil since late 2015, making this my 9th year of fencing. Something I've gotten really invested in, and in my opinion very knowledgeable about in that time, is fencing equipment. When it comes to shoes in particular, I've heard a lot of discourse with many differing opinions about what makes a good fencing shoe. And while there does seem to be a general consensus, I wanted to challenge that consensus from first principles. So in this intro, I want to give some insight into my thought process when it came to choosing a list of shoes to try on, how I'm going to judge those shoes as I try them on, and what questions I hope will be answered over the course of the next few weeks. I'm filming this intro in early January of 2024. Any shoes that are released after the video is published will obviously not be covered. Hi, editing Jacob here. Two quick things. Number one, please keep in mind that the decisions I make in this video are based primarily on my opinion and what works for me. Your mileage will almost certainly vary. Please try on any shoes that you're interested in before buying them to see if they work for you. Second, I make a couple errors throughout this video that I end up correcting later on. So please watch the whole video before leaving a comment saying that I made some sort of error. Obviously, if I didn't catch some error, constructive criticism is always welcome. Now, let's start with the reason why this journey will be so long in the first place. Since late 2021, I've been fencing in a pair of Adidas Fencing Pro 16s in orange. I'm generally pretty happy with this pair. I've had them for 2 years, fencing roughly 3 to 4 times a week, with the exception of the off season, and I'm still not quite done with them. I paid $210 US for these, which is a lot, but I genuinely think I got my money's worth in terms of durability. The main point of wear is here in the back foot shoe. This is from dragging my back foot along the strip as I lunge. Yes, I know there's a debate online about whether or not dragging your foot when you lunge is bad for you, but that's outside the scope of this video. There's also some wear from dragging here and here. There's also a crack in the plastic layer of the midsole and some wear on the heel of the front foot shoe. This is from where my heel hits the ground when I lunge. Other than that, there's some cracking of the leather in the tongue and the top line. Now, while I said the Pro 16s are a good pair of fencing shoes, I will be getting a new pair, and that's mainly because of availability. But there are two main issues that I think can be solved. The first is that main point of wear on the back foot shoe. If there was some way to prevent the wear from building up in that area, I could probably double the life of my shoes. The second is the cushioning. After every competition I go to, and even after some particularly intense practices, my knees hurt so bad to the point where sitting in a car on the way back from a competition becomes unbearable after just a few minutes. This is because the lunge, which is one of the most common actions in fencing, puts a huge amount of pressure on the front heel, which propagates through the knee. While the Pro 16s seem to have better cushioning than most fencing shoes out there from the EVA foam midsole, I think I can find a pair with better cushioning. Okay, quick side tangent about availability. I am an Adidas fanboy. Maybe it's the Eastern European in me, but I try to buy Adidas for almost everything. Unfortunately, I can't just buy the most recent pair of Adidas fencing shoes, because my current pair is the most recent pair. In 2016, Adidas announced that they would be leaving the fencing market.
They made one new pair for the Rio Olympics, along with a uniform and a glove, and then dipped. Adidas fencing shoes are now extremely hard to find unless you wear a size 4 or 13 or live in China, with the exception of the Adidas D'Artagnan 5s in blue. But I wore a pair of those for 4 years before I got my Pro 16s, and I think the Pro 16s are better.
So all of this begs the question, how do I go about choosing a new pair of shoes based on the problems I have with my current pair? Well, I wanted to go about this process in a deliberate way so that I don't try on any shoes that I know won't work for me, and so that I have an objective method of judging the shoes that I do try on. With that in mind, I took inspiration from the YouTuber Martin of the channel Vintagotten's recent videos. I came up with a list of what I'm going to call design requirements. Any shoe must meet all of these design requirements before I try them on. Any that don't will not be considered. If I don't mention a pair of shoes in this video that you're interested in, it's probably because either they didn't meet all my design requirements, or I have no reasonable way of trying them on in the United States, or I just don't know of their existence. Importantly, these design requirements are all visible. And what I mean by that is I can check whether a shoe meets them all just by looking at a picture. What this means is I'm testing shoes on things that are not visible, things that I can only test by trying the shoes on. This may seem obvious, but it's going to save me a lot of time in the long run, and it's going to allow me to use what limited time I get trying on the shoes in a much more efficient way. So what are these design requirements? Well, the first is drawn directly from my main issue with the Pro 16s. This main point of wear. The shoes must have a rubber layer of protection in this area of the upper. Rubber is the most durable substance you can put in this area without impacting performance, so this is a no-brainer. The second design requirement is one that's almost universally agreed upon as something a fencing shoe needs to have, and that is a cupped heel. The biggest reason for this is that when you lunge, let me do it with the front foot shoe. The biggest reason for this is because when you lunge, the first part of your foot to hit the ground is the heel, after which your foot rolls until it's completely flat. The cupped heel allows your foot to roll more smoothly, which is better for your feet. The third design requirement, or rather anti-requirement, is that the shoes cannot be sock-like. What I mean by this is that the shoes cannot be high tops, mid tops, or have a design like the Decathlon FNC 500s with that elastic bit around the ankle. This is more of a personal choice, and it mostly has to do with my personal style of fencing and how it affects my ankles. The fourth and final design requirement is an inward slant. Basically what I mean by this is that the shoes have to be designed for lateral movement and quick changes in direction, not just forward and backwards. You can sort of see this design in the Pro 16s. They're sort of ready to stop in this direction and go back that way. It also means no running shoes. With those requirements in place, I came up with the following list of shoes to try on. Starting with two fencing-specific shoes, the Azza 1514s and the Kempa Attack Pros. The Azzas are the hottest new fencing shoe on the market, designed by Tunisian saberist Azza Bezbes. At first glance, these seem to be everything I'm looking for, but I'm a bit worried about the durability. One of my clubmates said he was on his fourth pair since April, which... The Kempas have been a solid choice since they were announced 4 years ago. They're made by Kempa, a major player in the European handball shoe market, in collaboration with fencing manufacturing giant All-Star. These were intended to fill the void left by Adidas when they left the fencing shoe market. My biggest concern for these will be the cushioning. My plan is to try both of these shoes on first, choose which one I like better, and then compare all the other ones that I try on to that shoe. The rest of this list consists of non-fencing specific shoes. One pair of volleyball shoes, the Asics Netburner Ballistic FF3s. 7 pairs of tennis shoes, the Adidas Barricade 13s and Solematch Controls. The New Balance FuelCell 996 V5s. The Asics Court FF3s and Court FF3 Novaks.
Okay, so quick update. I just found out that the Asics Court FF3 and FF3 Novak are the same shoe. The only difference is the colorways and the Novak Djokovic logo, which increases the price by $10, which is kind of funny. But other than that, there does not seem to be a difference. So instead of testing both versions, I'm just going to try the ones that I can get my hands on the easiest.
And the Babolat Propulse Fury 3s and Jet Mach 3s. I intend to try both clay and hard court versions of all tennis shoes on the list that have both versions. And finally, one pair of pickleball shoes, the New Balance FuelCell 996 V5s.
Side tangent number 2. If it turns out that none of the shoes I try on are markedly better than the Pro 16s, I'll just buy the PBT Fenceras. This shoe recently hit the market with a design that it's the same shoe, but they have rubber on the inner part of the shoe, so it solves one of the big issues I had with the Pro 16s. They also have some cool minor improvements, like better shoelaces, eyelets, a more cushioned top line, and much more mesh for better breathability. Still want to look for better heel cushioning, though.
In the spirit of the scientific method, I'm going to make some predictions and share some initial thoughts before I actually try any of these on. I think that I'm going to be very impressed by the Azzas. They seem to be the perfect fencing shoe if I can make them last. They have a high stack, which makes me think they have good cushioning. They have a nice cupped heel, a rubber area that literally says lunge protection, and in his review, GP Fencing showed that they have pretty good stability. I think the only way I end up preferring the Kempas is if the grip on the Kempas is noticeably better. One clubmate of mine said he liked the traction in the Azzas, but the outsole of the Kempas has more air pockets, which supposedly leads to better grip. I predict that out of the non-fencing specific shoes, the Adidas Barricades will be my favorite. The new Barricade 13s introduce a new double foam midsole in the heel that's meant to provide better cushioning for tennis players who also slam their heels into the ground when they lunge. In the same vein, I'm excited to try out the Asics net burners. They have a gel area in the portion of the heel where the crack is on my Pro 16s. I'm also really interested to try the Babolat Propulse Furies. They look very similar to the Kempas and also seem to be very durable with a plastic layer on the inside of the foot and a Michelin tire outsole. In fact, I'm surprised that I've never seen any fencer wear a pair of Babolat shoes, like ever. It will be pretty funny if I end up buying the Fenceras.
Some of you who are more familiar with fencing shoes might be thinking that I conspicuously left out 2 pairs of fencing shoes that meet all of my design requirements. The Nike Air Zooms, aka the Balestra 1s, and the Balestra 2s. Like I said, I love Adidas for reasons that I can't really explain. Similarly, I hate Nike for reasons that I can't really explain. That's it. That's the only reason.
So throughout this video, I've mentioned that I would be testing all of the shoes on this list, but I haven't explained where I would be testing them and what I would be testing them for. I will be trying on the Azzas and the Kempas when I go to spectate the January NAC in San Jose. NACs, or North American Cups, are national level fencing competitions here in the United States. If you live in the States, or even Canada to be honest, NACs are the best place to try on any fencing equipment because every vendor and distributor in the country will have a booth at a NAC selling their stuff. The rest of the shoes I'll probably try on at some sports store or something if I can find them.
As for what I'm testing them for, I'm focusing on 3 things: cushioning, stability, and traction. I will test cushioning by doing a squeeze test on the midsoles and heels, followed by 5 to 10 lunges. I will test stability by doing the fold, twist, and heel squish tests, followed by 3 rounds of a couple quick retreats, and then a quick change in direction to advancing. Unfortunately, because I'm only trying the shoes on and probably not buying them immediately, I can't really test traction super effectively. So I'll basically just be looking for if they are way above average or way below average.
By the end of this journey, I hope to have answers to a couple of questions that came up in the making of this list. First, are non-fencing specific shoes made for indoor courts, hard courts, clay courts, or pickleball courts better than the others for fencing purposes? The main difference between these types of shoes seems to be the siping pattern on the outsole. Does this make a noticeable difference? I hypothesize that if there is any difference, it will be minor, and that out of all of them, hard court shoes will probably be the worst. Second, are flat outsoles really that good? The general consensus amongst every person I've talked to is that flat outsoles give a better feel for the strip. Is that true in a quantifiable way? I hypothesize sort of. A few very famous and very widely used fencing shoes did not have completely flat outsoles, namely the Adidas Adi Stars and Adi Powers. That said, these famous shoes were only not flat in the arch area of the foot, which doesn't really play a major part in fencing footwork. Furthermore, the modern day philosophy of fencing footwork is that you want to stay on the balls of your feet as much as possible. Staying flat footed is not really conducive to quick changes of direction. With all that in mind, I think so long as the area from the toes to the arch of the foot of the outsole is flat, it shouldn't really make a difference. And the last question, is a higher heel cup better? If you've noticed throughout this video, the heel cups on the Azzas and the Kempas are much higher than those of the non-fencing specific shoes. And that's the same with the Pro 16s. I mean, look at that. Is this important? My hypothesis is yes, but only to a certain point. Okay, with all of that out of the way, let's get to testing. Okay, so I just got back from the January NAC. And I wanted to give my thoughts on two pairs of shoes that I tried on there. I wanted to try on the Azzas, but unfortunately they didn't have any in my size. So that was unfortunate. And then I also tried the Kempas, and I was able to try the PBT Fenceras. My thoughts on the Kempas, I did not like them. And there were a couple reasons why. The first were because I didn't think the grip was that good. It was kind of, I don't know, I was expecting a lot more, but the grip was just not really there. The second was the cushioning. The cushioning was basically non-existent, which, I mean, I tried a couple lunges and my foot like basically immediately started hurting. And then the last reason why was because the part of the top line that touches the Achilles tendon was pinching my Achilles tendon. It was like pushing into it, and that was only after like less than 2 minutes of trying them on. And then the PBT Fenceras, they're a lot more comfortable than the Pro 16s. The grip is basically the same. The shoelaces are much nicer. I think the PBT Fenceras are the shoe to beat now. And the way to do that is markedly better cushioning and or markedly better grip. Because the stability was pretty decent. If I'm not able to try on the Azzas before I buy my next pair of shoes, I don't think I'm gonna go for them, because I was asking around some other clubmates of mine, and all of them basically said that theirs started breaking almost immediately after they got them, which is not great. So yeah, those are my thoughts upon coming back from the NAC. Not really what I expected, but yeah, there's definitely ways to go from here.
Today, I took a day trip with my family out to get some brunch and do some shopping, and while there, we passed by a sports store where I was able to try on the New Balance FuelCell 996 V5s, the tennis shoe version, not the pickleball version, unfortunately. Um, the cushioning was very nice. The shoes had a nice high stack. The foam was a good mix of soft and responsive. The inside of the shoe felt very comfortable. The stability was really quite good. I mean, it was almost impossible for me to manipulate the sole in any way. It was very, very sturdy and stable. The grip, unfortunately, was pretty terrible. I tried the standing grip test to see if they slid around, and they slid with a lot less force applied than I hoped. So I will not be proceeding with those. But if I can find something with that level of cushioning stability, that will be great. Hopefully, if I get to try the pickleball shoe version, those will have better grip. And in which case, those would definitely be a front runner.
I just got 3 pairs of shoes in the mail. Found out that Amazon does a try before you buy program. Alright, first pair, Adidas Solematch controls. Let's see, they've got the bounce foam, which is pretty decent. And I'm trying them down here because there's hardwood flooring, and most of the time I'm practicing in a gym with hardwood flooring. So before I put the other one on, I'm gonna do the twist test. Pretty decent. Squish test, pretty good. Heel cup, very solid. So they do seem to have a different layer of foam here, which I don't know if that's going to contribute to more spring in the midfoot. And this lining of rubber is nice, and the laces are quite nice too. The grip is quite nice. Yeah, I mean that's very difficult to move. These are nice. So these are, right now, these are the front runners. If I can get grip like that and stability like that with better cushioning, then those will be the shoes for me. These are the Adidas Barricades hard court version. So now we're also going to be testing whether the tennis hard court version or the clay court version, which I also have better grip. So let's see here. They're very nice, very comfortable. Yeah, that upper is really nice. So before I put the other one on, squeeze test. So it has this double layer in the heel, double layer of midsole foam. Yeah, and these have not a completely flat outsole, whereas the clay versions do. So I'm going to try to see if that makes a difference. And this tread here is really nice. Hopefully that'll help a lot with when I slide my back foot. There's some movement with the twist test, squish test, not much. Heel cup test, pretty solid, roughly the same as the Solematch controls. Okay. Oh yeah, those squish pretty nicely. These are really nice, but oh, I forgot to test the grip. Whoopsies. Yeah, those are pretty hard to budge. Grip is good. I think, if I may be honest, there's an area here that sort of pinches against my foot here, making it not as comfortable. But I think I would get used to that after just a little bit. So now let me try the other ones. Now the clay court version. Exactly the same everywhere else except for this clay bottom, or clay court sole setting pattern. I don't think I need to do the other tests with this, 'cause it's the same shoe. Okay. I'm really just testing grip. But you know what? I might test the grip side by side, because this one feels slightly... This one feels slightly grippier, if I may be so honest. But not by much. And actually, you know what? The hard court version is lighter. These move more. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. So these actually do have worse grip than these. These have... It's not huge, but these do have better grip. The clay version of the Barricades have the best grip by far of any shoe that I've tried so far. And I'd say, you know what, actually? Do you know what I want to do right now? I want to test the clay version and see if they gave me, oops, the same issue that the regular ones did with this layout of the top line. I'll tell you, this mesh upper is really nice. So yeah, it does sort of present the same problem, which I think might be just because they're not tied as tightly. Oh! Wait a minute. Hang on. It might be because I'm not using this last guy. Let me try using the last hole here. But it's only on the outside. That's interesting. Can't lie to you guys. These are really, really nice. These are the best ones so far. These are really, really nice. They have the best grip so far. Stability is great. There's just a little tiny bit of discomfort, but really it mostly comes from not tying the top shoelace hole. So yeah, those are the ones to beat now, in my opinion. Yeah, about the completely flat outsole versus not completely flat outsole, I didn't really feel a difference for, you know, how much I felt the strip, or I guess how much I felt the floor. I think the bigger difference was the grip. Or maybe that's what people mean by it. Okay, so it's the immediate next day, and I got the last part of the Amazon order. The Asics Court FF3s, the hard court version, and this is also the Novak Djokovic version. So yeah, excited to try these on. I'm excited to try out this flight foam. It feels pretty soft. Twist test, pretty stable. Squish test, very little movement. Heel cup test, pretty good. Let's get these on. Unfortunately, I can't move these tags out of the way, but... Okay, so, a couple things. Number one, the flight foam is not as cushioning as I expected. I was still feeling a little bit of pain in my knee. And the second thing is the grip is not as good as the Barricade clay version. I would like to try these in the clay court version because they do have a clay court version. But getting my hands on those will take a little bit longer. Overall, they're pretty comfortable, but I think at this stage, because the cushioning on the Barricades was definitely better than this, it's looking not great for Asics. Asics shoes have become sort of widely used now or like so widely used in fencing now, to the point where I'd say probably like over 50%, or maybe like around 50% of top athletes in all weapons are using a pair of Asics. But I'm wondering how much that is based on the cost. Yeah, I don't know. I still am interested, and I think it will be worthwhile to try out the Netburner Ballistics, because if they have really good grip and that like gel part in the heel makes a difference, then they could be on par with, or maybe even slightly better than the Barricade clays. But yeah, the flight foam on its own is not cutting it. So I'm walking back from trying on the New Balance FuelCell 9965s, the Pickleball version. They're really nice. The grip is like much better on hardwood flooring for the Pickleball version, and the cushioning and the stability are just as good, maybe even slightly better. The grip is still not as good as the Barricade clay version, but the difference is like fractional. And what the FuelCells have that's better than the Barricades is they're lighter. They're like much lighter. So if that's something that you're more interested in, you should try those. Okay, so it's the same day as the last clip, and I just finished trying on the Babolat Propulse Fury 3s. The cushioning on these was phenomenal. Was probably the best I've tried so far. I'd say like, you know, not by much, but like a little bit better than the Barricades. The sad part was the grip was not great, which seems to be the trend for tennis shoes.
Okay, so a couple of updates since the last clip. Number one, the remaining shoes on my list are the Azza 1514s, the Asics Netburner Ballistic FF3s, the Asics Court FF3 clays, and the Babolat Jet Mach 3s. The three shoes that are not the Azzas are not in stock anywhere in the US in stores. So I'm going to be making a couple judgment calls. The first is that I will not be trying the Jet Mach 3s, mainly because the midsole and outsole construction seems to be exactly the same as the Propulse Fury 3s. The only difference between them is the upper, of which the Propulse Fury 3s looks more durable, which is what I'm looking for. Second, the only reason at this point for me trying the Asics Court FF3 clay version is to get a second data point on uh, clay versus hard court outsoles, um, and which has the better traction. So, judgment call number 2. I really, really liked the Propulse Fury 3s when I tried them on. The cushioning was, to me, on another level. I immediately felt way more support, way more shock absorption. My knee didn't hurt at all. As soon as I slipped them on, I was like, "Oh, these are soft." So, I am going to assume that the pattern of clay court outsole traction patterns being grippier on hardwood floors than hard court outsole traction patterns holds, and I have already ordered a pair of Propulse Fury 3 clay court versions. I had to order them from Europe because only European stores carry the clay court version for some reason. All American stores carry only the hard court slash all court um, version. So instead of trying on the Asics Court FF3 clay version, I'm going to try on the Propulse Fury 3 clay version, and that will be the second data point. Third judgment call. As I've been speaking to more and more people at my club, the same exact thing has been brought up. The Azza 1514s break really easily. So, I am going to be removing them from my list also. The only way that I'm going to be able to try them out without trying them on is if I go to a competition where Blue Gauntlet is the vendor, which is going to be very difficult because they basically only vend to very large competitions. If I am able to go to one before this video is finished, I will include it in the video. Otherwise, I will add it in the description as an edit. Last judgment call. As I said before, the Asics Netburner Ballistic FF3s are unavailable in stores anywhere in the US. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until I can get them at a very discounted price, get them shipped to me, try them on, and then return them. The only reason I'm doing this is to give you as viewers a data point on where indoor court outsole siping patterns stack up in the ranking that has been developed in this journey. So most likely the next clip after this will be me trying on the Propulse Fury 3's clay court version, and then after that we'll see. I'm now back at college, and a couple of days ago my new pair of Babolat Propulse Fury 3's clay court version were delivered. I'm about to go test them out. Before I do, I want to acknowledge an error I made earlier in the video and correct it. In doing so, I will offer insight into a possible reason why so many people are finding the Azzas to be breaking so easily. I'm sure that anyone watching this video who has even a little bit of common sense was screaming at the screen when, at the time when I was introing my design requirements, I said the following. Rubber is the most durable substance you can put on the upper without impacting performance. This is completely wrong. And of course it's wrong. Just thinking about it. What happens when you drag an eraser across any surface? It gets chewed apart. It's so wrong, in fact, that every shoe except one on my original list had a completely different substance protecting the upper from abrasion. The material almost all tennis shoes use, alongside some volleyball shoes, pickleball shoes, badminton shoes, etc., is some form of polyurethane, a plastic with chemical properties similar to that of nylon. Even this new pair of Babolats uses polyurethane, which I actually said earlier in the video. It was actually a mistake, as I meant to say rubber there when I originally wrote the script, but it ended up being correct, so I'm going to leave it in. The only shoe on my original list to not use polyurethane is the Azza 1514. They use rubber. And here, I want to address something that I think is extremely important. Remember when I said I had a clubmate who was on his fourth pair of Azzas since April? Well, I asked him where his shoes were breaking, and he said in the lunge protection area. I think this is why so many people I've talked to are having issues with the durability of the Azzas. Rubber is a fantastic compound to use as the outsole of a shoe. It's extremely grippy, which is exactly why car tires are made of rubber. And it's exactly why my new Babolats have an outsole made from a Michelin tire rubber blend. It makes perfect sense why the Azzas have a rubber outsole. But when that outsole extends into an area where one expects there to be repeated, intense friction, and moreover labels that area as one where there should be repeated, intense friction, it makes sense why people expect that area to have a durability that rubber simply can't provide. I don't want the takeaway from this part of the video to be that the Azzas are a bad shoe. In fact, it's abundantly clear to me that the people who designed it know exactly what a fencing shoe should have, which is not something that I can say about a lot of fencing shoes currently on the market. If Azza Bezbes and her team come out with a new shoe in the future, you can bet I'm going to be in that line looking for a pair. The problems with the shoe are easily solvable, and once they are solved, I don't think many fencers are going to choose to wear anything else. Until that time, though, let's see if these are as good as I hoped. I just finished testing the Babolat Propulse Fury 3 clay court version. Not much to say about this pair of shoes. They're absolutely great. I would recommend them to anyone without hesitation. The grip on them is basically the only difference between them and the all court version, and they have better grip than the all court version. I'd say the cushioning is the best of any shoe I've tried on my list. The grip is either second or third. I'd say number one was the Adidas Barricade 13 clay court version. And the Babolats are, I think, roughly the same as the New Balance FuelCell 996v5 Pickleball version. Um, yeah, durability seems great. Can't wait to see how they hold up. Stability is fantastic. I have a competition coming up in a few days. I'm going to use them there and then report back on how they fared. Okay, it's been a couple weeks since the last clip. I've now fenced in the Babolats in 3 competitions, and I've fenced in numerous practices with them. I still think they're great. I've only really had one major complaint, which is not even that major. It's mostly like a breaking in thing. When I first got them, they were digging pretty hard at my malleolus on both feet actually. But I ended up getting some like sleeves with gel pads that I just put around my foot, and those ended up helping quite a bit. I tried them recently without them, and there's a lot less discomfort, so I think it's just a breaking in thing. And my feet pronate a lot, so if you have like straighter feet, it probably won't hurt as much or at all even. Yeah, the grip has been great, and my all my discomfort that I had in my right knee has completely gone away. It's been pretty crazy to me, actually. Yeah, I would still definitely recommend these. Okay, so just to quickly recap on this journey. I think this is going to be the last clip I record before I publish the video. The Babolats had the best cushioning out of any shoe that I tried, and it was really like night and day. I would say like runners up would be maybe like the New Balances and the Barricades were probably like around the same level, but it's like a notable decrease in the level of cushioning. Um, for stability, I'd say they were all roughly the same if I'm being honest. There were none that like really stood out, and there were none that were really like terribly worse than the rest. Um, Traction, I think for me, the Barricade clay court version were the best, and then second place was like I'd say it's roughly even between the Babolat clays and the New Balance pickleball version. So I think as for the questions I asked for at the beginning of the video, clay court shoes are clay court soles are better than hard court ones, and I think pickleball ones are roughly the same as clay court, maybe slightly worse. My hypothesis was right about um, flat outsoles. You really only need the part from like the toes to the arch of the foot to be flat. As for the higher heel cup, it didn't really make a noticeable difference. It felt a little bit weirder, I guess, on the New Balances, which had a slightly lower heel cup, but it's that difference is probably the least noticeable difference out of anything else that I've compared in this video. So long as there's some amount of curvature, then you should be fine. I would say past like maybe a centimeter from the lowest part of the sole, it doesn't it stops making a difference. I don't think I'm gonna try the Asics net burner ballistics. My feeling is that the cushioning is just still not going to be as good as the Babolats, and I don't think the traction can get that much better because like the Barricade clay version was already not slipping at all when I tried it on hardwood flooring. So I don't know how much better it could possibly get. And if the Asics shoes were like right in between the Barricades and the Babolats, then like it's not worth it for worse cushioning in my opinion. Yeah, so I guess that concludes this journey. I've found shoes that I'm happy with and that I can recommend to anybody. Yeah, thank you for watching.